All right, so one of the common objections you hear to Bitcoin and crypto in general, but we'll go Bitcoin specifically here, is, oh, you can't buy anything with it. Or can't buy anything with it. And my initial response to that is, well, who cares? Like, seriously, who cares? The problem is that you kind of have to explain what you mean by that. And what I mean by that is, even though I think in the early days of Bitcoin, this is something that was talked about a lot, that, oh, we're going to have this, private, decentralized form of money that you can buy a coffee with, you can buy whatever you want with. I think that we need to be a little bit more realistic, number one, in that, is there really that much of a demand to be able to buy a coffee with a private, decentralized form of money? Like, is there really, there is definitely a demand, but is that where the main demand lies? My point is quite simple here. Are people being kept awake at night because they can't buy a coffee with Bitcoin? Like, is that actually a thing? I don't think it is. But on the flip side, people certainly are being kept awake because they can't afford food. They can't afford the house, or hell, maybe they don't even have a house yet and they're never going to afford one. That is what people are actually, the big problem that people are actually facing. And that's where the use case for Bitcoin comes in my opinion, in it's going to be a very good hedge against inflation, and it's private and it's decentralized. I think, and not to mention too, if Bitcoin continues to gain traction over the next decade, 2, 3, 4, 5, in 10 or 20 years from now, I would be absolutely shocked if there wasn't at least a very clear advancement on the ability to buy a coffee with Bitcoin. I think, and the answer to that is the Lightning Network. And again, how exactly that's going to work, honestly, I don't know. A lot of people say, oh, just expand. This is the whole the Bitcoin Cash and all the other ones. So just make it bigger, make the blocks bigger, or at least make it so you can have more data on there, right? Again, that clearly was not the right approach. And again, if it was, then Bitcoin Cash would have a higher market cap than Bitcoin, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Bitcoin absolutely and utterly destroyed that. So that is the thing. In my opinion, the problem with the whole, oh, you can't buy anything argument is that's not the main point. Just like being able to buy stuff with your stocks and your ETFs, that's not the main point. Being able to sell your rental property on a exchange, it's not the point. And this is the thing that I'm trying to point out here, is the people that come up with these critiques of Bitcoin, they don't know what they're talking about because it's not well thought out. Saying, oh, you shouldn't own Bitcoin because you can't buy anything with it, well, in my opinion, that's not the main point. And it for sure, at least where we're at right now, is not the main point with small transactions. That for sure is because it makes no sense. I mean, cash is more private than Bitcoin is. Why not just use cash? So, in my opinion, it's a terrible argument because it's not well thought out. And my other point here is, if you ask one of the big like Warren Buffett, and a lot of these traditional finance guys, their argument is always, oh, well, Bitcoin doesn't have earnings, and I have no way of knowing how to value it. Well, that's comparing it to the stocks and bonds and real estate world. And in the stocks and bonds and real estate world, nobody ever says, oh, but you can't buy anything with your stocks. So again, the arguments contradict each other. Like, do you want to be able to buy stuff with it, or do you not want to be able to buy stuff with it? and they can't really get their arguments straight. Now, a lot of times it's not the same people that are making those arguments, but frankly, those are probably the two most common critiques. The I don't know how to value it argument, and the you can't buy anything with it arguments. So and again, I've done not a crazy amount of research, but when I hear people talk about this is what I hear. And again, neither one of them makes any sense because they're missing the point. They're completely missing the point. And again, the whole, you don't know how to value it argument, I mean, that's incredibly easy to argue against, in that, okay, well, there's nothing else on the planet that is decentralized, that you can transact in ability that isn't censorable and is a good store of value. There's nothing else that you can do that. I mean, to an extent, you can do it with your gold, but you can't buy something from Europe with your gold. I mean, technically you could, but it would make no sense. And again, when it comes to, I mean, gold would be easier to censor as well. Once you have your Bitcoin and you have your own keys, you control your private keys, nobody can stop you from transacting. Now, technically, again, they can track you, but again, if you're willing to put some effort in, you can get around that as well. So, again, my fundamental gripe when it comes to the people that come up with these critiques is that they're not actually debating the main use case. And most of the time, I would say it's not because they're being disingenuous. I think a lot of these people just genuinely don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're either not smart enough to not recognize that they don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they're one of the traditional finance people that assume they know everything and don't actually look into it, right? So that is my whole point here. So again, yeah, you can't, I mean, like I said, this website shows there's websites here where you can buy cars, you can buy watches, you can buy luxury bags. I know there's ways set up in certain areas where people can buy real estate. So again, technically you can buy some things with Bitcoin. The problem is not you can't buy anything with Bitcoin, frankly. The problem is you can't conveniently buy stuff with Bitcoin. And that's another very important point to bring up here. Because again, if you really wanted to transact in small amounts in Bitcoin, you could find a way to do it. But it's just inconvenient. And the other big problem too is the fees. That's the other big problem as well, is that, hey, maybe you can do it, but if you're going to get charged 20% to do it, why would you do it? So again, the main use case for Bitcoin, in my opinion, and I don't think this is really something that people would debate because it would make no sense to debate this, is the medium to long-term store of value. I think that if your whole mindset is, I want to buy Bitcoin, but I immediately want to go start buying stuff with it, I think that you're completely missing the point. Like, completely. And that's something that I would go to bat against anybody on. The whole use case is the medium to long-term hedge against inflation, the fact that you cannot be censored, and you can go wherever you want. Nobody can stop you. That is the main use case, and there's no other asset that can do that. Gold, people will debate, but it's not as good. It's inferior in virtually every way. The other cryptos, 99.9% of them are not decentralized. And of the ones that truly are decentralized, honestly, probably 95 to 99% of those are completely failed projects. Like look at Monero, probably arguably the best legitimate competitor to Bitcoin. Is look at what it's done over the last couple of years. Like, it's done nothing. Bitcoin's up, whatever it's up. Monero's left in the dust. So that's the thing, and this is the thing that I always would say to altcoiners is, if you can't convince people to adopt Bitcoin, you're not going to convince them to adopt your altcoin, especially when it's inferior to Bitcoin in a lot of ways. Like that doesn't make any sense. So that's the point I would leave it at there. Can you buy stuff with Bitcoin? Kind of. Does it matter? No, because that's not the main point. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more.